Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, we're discussing our childhood TV watching memories, what we're thankful for in 2020. That might be more difficult than you think.
Oh, damn, I read that wrong.
Did you really?
No.
Oh.
Reviews of Freaky, Happiest Season, Dreamland, and much more. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today, my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, Aaron. How you doing today?
Well, better. We've got our abandoned crusader back, Amanda Sink.
Hello. I am back, fellas.
I know. It was like 2 weeks of whatever we want to talk about. Now we got to get back on page with her.
You know what's nice, though, is that now I don't have to talk. Well, now I won't be able to talk. So I'll go back to like hiding in the background again.
Which is okay.
Well, no, it just, you had equal opportunity to speak 50-50, whereas now I take about 20% from both of you. So you guys just lose a little.
I think you're being very generous with that minimal amount.
That's really cute that you think that.
Well, I mean, we only get 33%, so you still have 13.
I only get 13.
That's what she's saying. I think she just said that.
Well, if we have 33%, that...
Minus 20.
Maybe you would get more if you could do math, John.
I don't need to do math. I just need to sit here, be pretty, and do pretty things. I don't need to do math.
Well, at least you got half of it.
You're the prettiest of the group.
I am the prettiest of the group.
Wow, someone's ego is really inflated since he started working out and like being all fancy with his pancakes.
I have like awesome, like I'm nearly close to having abs again. That's
okay, we're done with this. You know what? Let's go into
abs. That's impressive.
No, he said it before, and he said it too often. Let's go into our movie and TV discussion. All right, here's our news roundup for the week. Michael Bay's new pandemic filmed and set, because what we need in a pandemic is a movie about a pandemic. That movie is called Songbird, and it will hit premium video on demand in December instead of theaters. And Michael Bay also just signed up to direct Jake Gyllenhaal in a movie called Ambulance, which is a flick in the vein of Bad Boys and Speed. Everything in that sentence, minus the pandemic portion, sounds awesome. WandaVision debuts on January 15th on Disney+, so finally there is something besides Mandalorian to watch over there.
Hallelujah!
This is the way.
Calm it down.
You calm it down.
It is officially official that Wonder Woman 1984 will release both in theaters and HBO Max on Christmas Day. They have worked out a deal to make it available to both because obviously some states are still closed down, some are open, whatever the situation is, and they want to make sure that Wonder Woman is available for everyone that wants to see it on Christmas Day, so you can see Diana back in full glory. There is still no word yet on if this is going to affect the prospects of a sequel, though. That's one thing we're waiting to hear. Constantine co-star Peter Stormare says Constantine 2 is in the works, but no confirmation from Keanu Reeves or the studio on that, and I'm going to wait for them before I commit to what Peter Stormare says. What we do have confirmation on is that Johnny Five is alive because a Short Circuit remake is underway. And there's this little side plug. We did this little podcast called Remake This Movie Right, where we actually remade Short Circuit right with the original writer of that film, S.S. Wilson. Find Remake This Movie Right in your podcast feeds or go to thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Thank you. Was that a little too...
No, I mean, apparently people are still really finding this show. It's impressive.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if enough people watch that episode, it might force you to revive that show.
I don't know how they could watch it because it's audio. But that would be fun.
Well, same difference.
Says the podcaster.
Alicia Vikander is producing and potentially starring in a limited series remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder. Alec Baldwin and Kelsey Grammer, with polarizingly opposite ideologies, are coming together in an ABC comedy about three men, so we don't know who that third man's going to be, whose egos drove them apart and are forced to come back together decades later. We've only got a couple more here. Cinemark has signed on for that Universal deal that AMC Theaters signed up for, where they'll release movies to theaters under a shorter delay window for on-demand. So basically, they release in theaters, 17 days later, they can go to on-demand. Conan O'Brien is ending his decades-long run as a daily talk show host for a weekly variety show on HBO Max, and Spike Lee is directing a movie musical about Viagra. I really hope they call it Rise Up. That's it for the news roundup. All right, John, of all of that, what struck your fancy?
God, I feel like I listened to so many things. The thing that I'm really excited about, though, is that Michael Bay and Jake Gyllenhaal thing. I mean, how many movies does Michael Bay have to make that has bodies coming out of the back of a truck to make me finally stop watching that stuff?
100? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really great that we're doing Jake Gyllenhaal this time with Michael Bay, because last time it was Ryan Reynolds with Michael Bay, and that was just a treat.
With was it 6 Underground? Right?
Yeah.
There's so many, a lot of people hate Michael Bay, and that's fine. You can hate him if you want to. I like his movies. I don't mind that they're ridiculous, and those are his sweet spot. Those really just dumb, big budget, huge blockbuster flicks. And Jake Gyllenhaal is, I think, arguably one of the best actors of his generation. So put those two things together, and I don't know how you say no to that.
Yeah.
That feels like Christmas dinner to me.
Anything Gyllenhaal.
Exactly.
You know what put Jake Gyllenhaal and his partner, Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, put them together.
Ooh.
Maybe bring the franchises together. 6 Underground ambulances.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah. Fast cars, 1 ambulance.
I just figured out a way to improve it. All right, so Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, they're a paramedic team, and they constantly get yelled at by their boss, who's like the fire chief or whatever. And the fire chief is Hugh Jackman.
Sure. You know what? I would have watched it from the beginning of the setup. You didn't need to add all that, but if you can add that and you've got $6,000 billion trillion to spend, sure.
It's Michael Bay. He doesn't need Sean Connery anymore to get him money.
Wow. All right. Amanda, what about you? What stood out for you?
Well, I think it's pretty evident that WandaVision is something that I've been looking forward to and am looking forward to. I was really hopeful that we would get it in 2020 because of their coming soon ad, but I'm okay with January. I guess I can wait a little bit longer.
Doesn't that mean that in 2021 is going to kick off with a great start, hit the ground running?
It will.
There you
It
go.
will indeed.
There you go.
It will indeed. I'm just really curious what they're going to do with this, and hearing that it's bonkers in a good way is always something that gets me intrigued anyhow, regardless of the Scarlet Witch.
That
piece of
trailer does not inspire me with good vibes.
It's very bizarre, but I'm looking forward to it because I do understand the concern, because I feel like if you're not aware, like John and I have talked about in previous episodes about what they're trying to do with this, I think if you're not familiar with it, it's just going to seem really, really weird to you. Even though, even John and I recognize it is still weird, but I don't know. I feel like there's a level that I can appreciate at this point, at least from what I'm seeing. And I just worry that a lot of people aren't going to get that. And I think the one other thing that will be interesting to see is this is being done completely by Marvel. And it's the first of its kind to try to step into taking some of the pieces from the franchise into it. And so what that looks like for the future shows that do the same thing, that'll prove to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly how they work in, this is what you're alluding to, I imagine, the feature film pieces and then the TV show pieces and how they combine them all. And how much do you really have to know from the TV show pieces to continue to watch the film? Because WandaVision doesn't look appealing to me. I'll check out an episode. But if, let's say, I don't like it and I don't want to continue, is that going to affect the movies? Because I don't want it to have to, but it might based on what they're doing.
I can't really say that I'm exactly trusting Disney Plus to bring me some quality at this point. But at the same time, if this isn't quality, which I will give it the chance to prove me wrong, I am going to get rid of my Disney Plus thing, because watching Mando and only watching Mando at this point is not really worth that monthly sub. And I need them to start showing me that they're going to be delivering on some of the promises they made on what they were going to give us.
Is that fair when a pandemic happened for most of the year, though?
Well, you can't tell me they didn't have some of this stuff in the works already.
Well, yeah, but they had to stop filming for at least 6 months of the year for most of it. I mean, that did put a dent in there. I'm not saying that you're not warranted in that. I'm just saying, is it necessarily fair to say that, well, you should have given us more content when they weren't able to make more content? Netflix had $60 billion and they've been trying to get things done for a while. So they had a lot more stockpiled.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that the problem is the fact that they have a complete lack of content. It's just the quality of that content I'm getting is not necessarily for me. I won't call it good. I won't call it bad, but it doesn't seem like right now it's for me. And I'm talking about Mandalorian. It's a completely fine show. I enjoy sitting there and watching it to a degree, but I don't look for. I haven't watched the third episode yet, and I'm not driven to watch the third episode. And so if I'm not going to get that out of WandaVision, which I do enjoy the Marvel properties, then I don't see a point in the service anymore.
It'd be quite a change to see so many people turning their backs on Disney, but I think if they feel like these TV shows aren't giving them what they're hoping for, and by that I mean something to scale of the films, that's really what people are hoping for, is for a Marvel film to be condensed into a TV show. And if people aren't getting that, they're going to turn away, and Disney will either try to completely flip the script or they'll just try to remedy the shows going forward or something. But I don't know. I think that Disney they haven't proved themselves to me, and it sounds like not to John either. And they had all the time before the pandemic to prep for their launch of the program.
That's true.
The pandemic did happen 3 months after it launched, but that's besides the point.
But they had all the time to prepare before they launched. Like when they had their launch plan, they should have had a lineup of things that were already well into the works and even completed to be able to put out there, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Disney Plus. I feel worse for HBO Max because they launched in the pandemic. Really?
Yep.
So, wow. Crazy times. My biggest thing, I mean, other than Spike Lee's doing a movie musical about Viagra, that's just weird. But
very weird.
Spike Lee, you're an odd dude. But really, that Cinemark signed on for this Universal deal, which is that, you know, the releasing windows are closing again. They made this deal with AMC theaters, and the other studios or the other theaters balked at it, said, we're not doing that, because essentially that cuts into their theatrical windows. Changes the game, so to speak. But Universal's kind of using the clout they have, because right now, you know, theaters are really, really suffering because a lot of them can't be open in many states, most of the bigger markets. So they're making this deal where Universal will release them, and then 17 days later, they can put them on home video if they want to, where in the old days it was 90 days, or not old days. In March, it was 90 days, and it still is currently 90 days, except for Universal and AMC made that deal. That's why Freaky will be on demand in a couple weeks because of that deal. So that could change if other studios get on board with this. If they want to do that, it could theoretically change the future of movie theaters.
Film studios have an enormous amount of power right now that I don't like. I know there's a lot of people, and we've had this conversation so many times, so I'm not going to beat it to death anymore, but there's a lot of people that really like at-home releases, and that's great. But I've already seen people complain about that original Tenet price of $45. And they're like, nah, I'm not paying for that. No way. And it's like, well, what do you think's going to happen if we remove movie theaters?
You won't get blockbusters like that very often. Like, as much as people love the Marvel.
Not for a good price either.
No, you won't. I mean, it's just, you know, and they've tried different things during the pandemic. The Mulan thing, as much as some people wanted it to be this great success, it wasn't. Disney didn't make very much money off of it. So they aren't going to do that again. And none of the other premium on-demand movies have been big hits. Trolls 2 was the closest they had to a hit. So it isn't something that studios want to do either. It's just not. You know, they want theaters. They make more with movie theaters than they do with most streaming components. Because the other flip side is people are so used to other streaming options now, they don't want to pay extra. They want to pay $8 a month. That's it. Or $10 or whatever the price is. Unless you're Hulu, and then they jack the price up like $10 at the end of the year. That's what I heard. In a pandemic. Stupid ass move.
Wait,
Hulu.
They're really doing that?
Yeah. You've got Hulu Plus Live, which means it's like basically the cable version where you get channels as well.
Right.
That's going up $10 the way I understand it at the end of this year. During a pandemic. They're jacking the price up substantially during the pandemic, which is okay. Good for you. Let's see how that works out. You know what?
Good old Disney.
We've talked a lot about things that are good and bad this year, and it's been rough, right? We can all agree that this has been a rough year across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been delightful for the most part.
I could think of better things to spend a year on.
Yeah.
Same here. I mean,
Wouldn't redo this year.
I mean,
Nope.
I feel like I'm on the back half. Basically, I'm on the back nine of, like, if I was playing a game of golf, I would be on the back nine right now in my life, is the way I look at it. And I wasted one whole round, one whole hole on this year. It sucks. But we want to find the things that make us thankful in 2020. You know, some that revolve around movie theaters or television or movie and TV in some way, but also like just in general. So we've each come up with 5 things that we're thankful for. So not complaining. In the year of the suck, we're going to find some positivity. So, all right. So we're going to do round robin, you know, each one at a time. And we're going to go through the 5 things that we're genuinely thankful for in 2020. My number 1, ready guys?
Uh-huh.
Movie theaters reopened. So, you know, for months, and this seems like obvious, that's why I'm doing it right out of the gate. Months I was stuck inside. I mean, I know right now we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Some states are already closing them again. It really, really is not a wonderful environment. But for the time that they've been open, it's just been this weekly release of joy. And people are like, well, what do you see there? I have seen a new movie every single week since they reopened in my area in July, I think. Mid-June, whatever it was. No, it's July. Ever since they reopened, I've seen a new movie every single week. So there has been, I mean, most of them have been more independent films, but I love independent films, so I don't have a problem with that. And I actually like most of them. And I haven't had anything that really sucked during that time. So that to me is something that I'm very thankful for, that even during a pandemic when things were harsh, we were able to go to the theaters and they took some amazing precautions to make sure that I felt safe, safer there than I feel in going to get groceries. I can promise you that. And it's just been a happy time.
Very cool. The thing that I'm thankful for right now, because, well, even though my theaters opened up roughly on the same time yours did, the ones that were closest to me soon shut back down again because Regal just said, nah.
Yeah.
The things that I'm more thankful for right now are shows like Umbrella Academy, The Boys, and Bly Manor, because with those shows and coming out in a spread like they did, I always had something to look forward to every couple of weeks that I can sit down and just, enjoy some escapism with. And those shows were a lot of fun this year. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm happy about.
Okay, so since we're not putting our family and friends first, I will continue the trend.
Any particular order? Okay, what did you say? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just calling you guys out, but I'll save mine.
They don't listen, so it's fine.
I'm going to talk or mention horror movies have had a pretty good run this year, or horror content in general. We've had some, I mean, even Invisible Man kind of kicked things off with the movie theater experience, but You Should Have Left was a good one. The Rental was great. There's been a lot of fun ones that I think all of us have seen on different platforms that are obviously more independent, and they're just really enjoyable. And I like that people are finding films like that.
Damn, that's a great one.
It's so much better than Friends or Family.
Right?
I mean, depends on the day, right?
I mean, do I got to put them in my top 5? I don't.
Every day.
I mean,
that sounds
think
better.
They might need to be in at least
How do they make the
5,
list
right?
if we can't see them? That's what I want to know. We're not allowed to see them. How are they supposed to be on the list?
Exactly.
Zoom.
There's that too.
Oh, God. You know what I'm not thankful for? Zoom. That has not brought me closer to anybody. Ugh.
Nope.
If I have to do another Zoom meeting in my life, I'm just, oh my God. All right. So my number 2, streaming channels. Because if it wasn't for streaming channels, just think how much this year would have sucked.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
horrible, because this is what we had to occupy our time with. I mean, I'm not reading. I ain't got time for that. I'm going to watch some TV or some movies.
You definitely got the time for it. You just don't have the interest.
I am not interested in expanding my intelligence. Obviously, 2020 is not a year for that. So I've been watching a lot of streaming, and there has been like zero chance of a lack of original content. Whenever people tell me I can't find anything to watch, I'm like, you are out of your freaking mind. It makes no sense to me. I can find something new to watch every single day if I really wanted to. So that's been fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of cool things have come out too.
Yeah, similarly, I'm going to say, but more specifically, I'm going to say I'm really thankful for my HBO Max sub, because since that came out, I've had something to specifically focus on. It's given me my Godzilla movies. It's given me shows like Raised by Wolves and, to a lesser degree, Lovecraft Country. And on top of that, it's given me a lot of access to DC stuff, and I've been really enjoying a lot of that access. Also, Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was a nice bonus to the year.
Yeah.
New ones too. And they really felt like the old ones.
Yeah, no, they really captured a lot of the same feeling of the old ones. And the old ones just are their own sort of magic. So I've been really happy to have them.
Oh.
So my next one is, it's not the same as Aaron's first one. It does have to do with movie theaters.
I'm curious.
But I'm actually going to give a nice, don't get rude because I was just about to compliment you.
I wasn't going to be rude. I said this would be interesting.
Oh my God.
I settled in.
I felt like it was going to, okay.
Now I'm going to be rude.
I am thankful for Aaron, who decided to put together a private movie screening for some of his compadres in the area as a way to have something fun to do, socially distanced with masks. I mean, very distanced. It was a huge theater. And also support the local theater and the awesome GM there, Adam Schreiber, who is a listener. Shout out. But that was awesome.
I don't know why I did that.
I liked it. It's the most enthusiasm you've ever shown. So I like it.
Respect. It was just a really cool thing to do to bring people together, and it was done in honor of Halloween, which is the best holiday of the year, of course. And it was just cool. It was weird because usually when you see people, you want to give them big hugs and touch them and talk to them and everything. And you can do it in a limited capacity when you're social distancing, but it was still great to see people in person just really enjoying their night.
Yeah, that was fun. We had the whole theater. We watched The Conjuring, and nobody was close to one another. Everybody felt like they were safe, so that it was a good time. Thanks for mentioning that. My number 3 is that COVID protocols were implemented, which allowed film and television studios to go back to work so we can continue getting original content, even if we're going to get locked down again. I mean, a lot of movies and TV shows have actually been able to film because they came up with protocols that work. They found a way to make it work even during a pandemic. So I'm happy for that. Even if it is crazy that we're in this world, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's shows that are bringing the pandemic into it.
Yeah.
So it makes filming super easy.
I'm not thankful for that. I'm not.
Yeah.
I like the only...
That really kills the escapism.
Yeah.
I want to get away from all this COVID talk. Oh, look, they're doing COVID talk in the show. It's really... They're doing exactly what the Zoom meetings. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Well, so for Grey's
seriously.
Anatomy, it's a medical show. And to me, it makes sense that it would happen.
It makes sense, but
Thank God I'm not watching that.
I don't want to get into that world.
I get your point. I'm just saying it's a creative way to still film while you have to have masks on.
Sure.
That's all I was saying.
Sure. I gotcha.
Nice. My number 3, and this is my final entertainment one that I can pull up. So I got to see 2 movies in the theater before I lost my theaters again, and one of them was New Mutants, and the other one was Tenet. I'm really thankful for Tenet being the last movie I saw in a theater. It was such a great experience. It's an amazing movie. I can't wait to own it. It's going to be one of the first things I buy next to Love and Monsters, and I really just dig it. I can't wait to watch it again. It was such a great movie.
So you didn't really dig that Southern accent that the Stranger Things kid had?
It was fine.
No, it was not. It was not fine. It was everything but fine.
Like, I'm pretty sure I beat up on that movie enough on the episode in which we talked about that movie.
Oh, God. Charlie Heaton, right? That was Charlie Heaton?
Yeah.
Worst
He was
accent.
high the entire time.
Just awful.
You remember, that's when he got evicted from the country for a little while because they kept on finding him drugs and hookers all over the place.
Is that supposed to justify whatever he did with that accent? Because I don't think that plays.
I'm just saying that he wasn't really himself.
He wasn't really an actor either.
That's I mean, that's also true. Amanda, the silence means it's your turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. My next one is I'm going to go to a personal one, and I'm going to talk about the family and friends. I'm incredibly thankful that all of them are alive, have survived COVID. Everybody that I know that has gotten it anyway. I know that's not everybody's situation, but I'm incredibly thankful that I have not had to endure that pain, and that everybody has been respectful of others' wishes and trying to, connect in a different way. And I'm thankful that I haven't lost that. Some people I've actually gotten more connected to, like with my D&D campaign, we meet virtually. So, and then of course in that family and friends containment is my partner, Vinny, and my 2 very annoying but adorable dogs.
I'll just second that because I didn't include family and friends in my top 5 at all. Like, not even a little bit. But you guys are there in spirit.
Shame. Shame.
Well, you keep bringing it up. I feel like this is like some kind of pack your bags. We're going on a guilt trip. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know why this keeps coming up.
No. It's just something that I'm always incredibly thankful for. So.
Well, good. You enjoy your trip to heaven. I'll let me know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's not a trip I'm going on.
No, I'm not. I qualified for the management program in hell, so I'm going to be down there getting ready for. Yeah,
thankful for friends and family. Screw them.
My number 4. Now, my last 2 are my personal ones. Okay, they're not family or friends, but I am thankful for all of you. If you happen to listen, which most of my friends and family don't. The block features on social media.
Ooh,
that's oh my god! I never really discovered it until this year. But there is no.
It's taking you that long to figure that one out?
I just never really cared them. Like, I just said whatever I said on whatever platform I was using and then kind of went about my day. I didn't really, and I never really took people too serious. But this has been the year of just anger and divisiveness and just irateness. And I just don't want to deal with it. There's nothing more freeing than blocking people who just want to yell or shout nonsense or tell you you're stupid because you don't agree with whatever their opinion is. You can't disagree with facts, but you can disagree with opinions. And in a year like this, I don't need the extra stress. So I've just been blocking the hell out of people. It's been wonderful. Wonderful. And I realized I don't even know why I was friends with some of these people. Like, I don't miss you at all. I didn't even notice you were gone. So,
right.
It just made life a little bit better to be able to say, suck
I
it,
hope
Trebek.
none of those people listen to your podcast.
Hang on, I'm thinking.
Well, how would they know if they were blocked?
Yeah.
They wouldn't see all of Aaron's funny posts on social media
anymore?
I'm
guessing they would know. I'm guessing they would probably know. Yeah.
Oh, wait, are you blocking people or unfollowing?
Oh, no. Unfollow is a fun way to do it, and I know that's what most people do. I block. If I don't want to see anything, I just don't want to hear from you again, mostly. I don't. Okay. There's some people I just unfollow because, all they do is post recipes or their personal political opinions, which, hey, everybody's entitled to whatever they're entitled to. But there's some people I just don't want to see again. And that's what the block feature has been this year for me. Oh, it's delightful.
It's rewarding.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, if you happen to be listening, because Amanda pointed out that you might be actually listening to the show, and you haven't seen Aaron pop up in your feed recently, now you know why. You said something stupid. Enjoy the show.
Buy popcorn.
Yeah.
Buy popcorn.
Hey, you know what's really fun? Is if you go on, entertainment sites or whatever, and you make comments, and people always love to jump on that and shout at you with their opinion or whatever. I just instantly block those people. So they're just arguing with nobody. It's fantastic. I love it.
That's a good time. They're like sitting there watching you, waiting for the reply too. Mm-hmm. They're just like, he's gonna reply. I can't wait for him to reply. I'll jump all over the reply. I don't care what it says. He's gonna say this. I want to say that. He's gonna say this, and they're having the whole argument in your head. Meanwhile, you've stopped caring.
Yep.
Bravo, man.
Just walked away. It's kind of like, in the movie when you just light a fire, there's an explosion, and you walk it away. I try to do that.
Well, I mean, it's like almost like real life. Like somebody says something stupid, and instead of actually engaging with them, you walk away. And that person gets even more mad. And then it becomes a whole thing in their head. Yeah. Meanwhile, you've gone on with your life. You
tell everybody what a jackass you are because you didn't want to argue with them for 25 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So my fourth thing that I'm really happy about this year has given me two things that from the same person that I absolutely adore, and that is two books from Jim Butcher based off of the Dresden Files. I finished the first book in about a week and a half. I'm still working on the second book just because I've been savoring it here and there, and I love this story so much. And again, this is something that's some great escapism, something that has taken me down in the path of imagination, which I love to be in. And yeah, it's making me really happy that I got two books from him this year. And I'm getting a third book in a couple weeks, or in a week or so, the second of the Ready Player One series, Ready Player Two. So that's going to be great too.
That's good, man. I'm happy for you. As a fan, as I know you are, I'm just glad that you didn't get them, and you're like, wow, that was really disappointing, because that would have sucked.
That would have sucked. I don't really jump on things that much, and then when I do, they're special. They're very, very special to me. So I'm glad he hasn't disappointed me yet.
Also, I got to retire the word "suck" from this podcast. I've literally used it probably 15 times this episode. I don't like to use that word at all, so I'm gonna try to refrain from using it the rest of the episode.
So if he says it again, he has to do a shot
or a push-up, because I'd much rather do a shot.
shot.
Great. Now
All
I'm
right,
going to have to pay royalties.
Right. What? For what? For me singing a song poorly?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how that works. I'm like, great, Red Foo's going to call.
Right.
I'm going to move on. So my next one is related to entertainment, but it also is a little personal.
Okay.
Oh,
so the Facebook, hey, shush your mouth. The Facebook Hollywood Outsider group. I know we kind of got a little, dampened with social media this year, but that group has been a light in our lives, where people are having good conversation, people are being respectful, and just like it feels like all of the divisiveness just doesn't exist, even though there are people with a lot of different feelings and opinions. And I like that. And I like all of the friendships that have come out of it. All of the just everything from the show has been really cool. I am going to give a special shout out to Sean, and I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but Coates, is it Coates?
I think so.
Coates. He was such a kind fella. I was looking for something that you can only find in Los Angeles, and he was super nice. His dad had a used one and mailed it to me. And I was like, this is the stuff that comes out of the Hollywood Outsider Facebook and podcast. So people are just really nice. I just love it. Everybody is so cool. And that comes from that group.
And we actually put a post asking people what they thought. We put the topic there every single week. So if you ever want to know what it is, you can just go to that Facebook group. That's where it's posted. And we asked them what they're thankful for. And a lot of them did say the group and the podcast, which is really cool. I mean, that we were still doing it this year when we didn't have as much to talk about. So that's very much appreciated. But thanks, Amanda, for pointing all that out. That's very, very cool. That doesn't suck. All
right, do a push-up.
No,
you still said the word.
I mean, that's fair. Let's just tally them. I'll do them at the end of the show. Okay, so my final one, that is a personal one. This is on a personal level. And I think, throughout the year, everybody has said thank you to essential workers, right? They're always mentioned, as they should be. Nurses, doctors, retail clerks, grocery store clerks, gas station attendants, stuff like that. But what rarely gets mentioned, in my opinion, that I rarely see mentioned, are truck drivers. And I think it's important because these are probably the people I'm most thankful for. Not to take away from anyone else. Obviously, doctors and nurses are extremely important. But we literally wouldn't have anything during this pandemic without truck drivers, and they haven't stopped. Everything you eat, wear, own, whatever, has been on a truck at some point. All that Amazon crap you've been ordering that you don't really need, but you're just bored, so you order it. All that comes on a truck. I've always appreciated the job that they do. One that's already very lonely. They're not at home a lot. They're constantly on the move. And I think this year really showed just how important they are, because just think, if you didn't have people that delivered all this stuff, what would your life have been like this year? So I am thankful. If you drive a truck, or you're related, or family or friend of someone who's a truck driver, please thank them for me.
Hell yeah.
And just think, this is important to put it this way too. When the vaccines arrive, they'll be distributed by truck drivers. You only get them if you have truck drivers. So, please thank one. The next time you see a truck driver, just say thank you.
Do they still do that little toot toot thing if you
put
drive
your arm
past
down?
and you
Sure.
put your arm?
Yeah. Sure they will.
I do that as an adult sometimes, but I haven't driven in so long.
The
except for this
choo-choo
weekend.
thing. Yes. Uh-huh.
The choo-choo thing. Right. Back when the pandemic started, I dove back into an old video game that I put away a long time ago, and through playing that video game, which is it's a D&D based video game that's a massive online multiplayer, I ended up making a group of friends, and even though I was trying not to make any sort of friends in that game, and I'm really thankful for that game and the group of morons that I run around with on a regular basis. We constantly have a good laugh. We constantly joke around, and in stupid ways, we actually check in on each other through messaging apps to see how each other is doing and stuff. And they've been pretty great. And if they actually hear this, go screw yourself, okay?
That's how you know it's real love.
Yep. Best kind of friends.
Yeah. I mean, I would have said something different, but, we're trying to keep this clean-ish.
Yeah, a little PC.
Yeah, they know who they are, though.
Yeah, we're so PC. All right, Amanda, what's your last one?
My last one is, I want to preface this by saying I'm trying to be very intentional about what I'm thankful for this year and this month, because... And not in like a gloating way, because there are a lot of things that I have that a lot of people do not have right now. And it makes me incredibly thankful that I do still have the things that I do. And that being a job right now.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about my groceries, or I don't have to worry about if I'm going to even get my unemployment check and all of the nightmare that comes with that. And being able to still support businesses and, think about things for Christmas. Like, I am very, very, very lucky. And I know I'm in the minority of people that are lucky enough to still have full-time employment. And so if you are in that position where you do still have your job, please be kind to everyone that you interact with, because they are probably also going through a nightmare trying to maintain and keep up with things, like if you're out at the store or something. But be kind to everybody else that you run into, because they're having a hell of a time this year. And with as many people that don't have jobs right now, they're struggling real bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm really thankful for that I still have this opportunity. And I don't want to forget that.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
And we are all three thankful for all of you guys that still listen to the podcast. So thank you to you guys listening. Thank you.
Thanks all 5 of you guys for hanging out with us.
Is that an honorable mention?
Yeah, I think so.
But that is the most honorable of mentions.
It is. I just want to clarify that this was not on a list. This was
Right.
an honorable mention that Aaron approved.
Also, Steve, Joey D, Bucky, and Sam really, those guys who are listening to us right now are all worth mentioning that they've been hanging out with
We
us this
have
entire
women
time.
listeners
Who the hell
too.
is that? I don't even know who.
Nobody who listens. He's just trying to make a joke about how few listeners.
Yeah, it
we
was
have.
called a bit, and both of you guys went ahead and just said, "Oh, there's a bit. Let's just screw it up for them."
Maybe if it was a better bit. I don't know what to tell you.
It was a pretty good bit.
Yeah, that's what you're telling me. Okay. You know what? Speaking of honorable, let's talk about Patreon supporters. Like those are the elite.
Those are our peeps. Yeah.
Patreon helps fans support. I don't know why I went so high pitched with that, but Patreon helps fans support the favorite podcast. And once you sign up, you get immediate access to all content in your respective tier. You get a lot of bonus content, including we're going to watch the movie Cats. And I don't know if that's going to be a good thing, but we're going to record it. So if you want to support the show and get some content, which, a lot of it is stuff we would never talk about on the show, go to patreon.com/TheHollywoodOutsider. That's patreon.com/TheHollywoodOutsider.
Don't some of the tiers give you a t-shirt?
No,
Yes.
Yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. People like t-shirts. I like t-shirts.
John's over here like, no. Mm-mm.
These are my t-shirts.
giving out those T-shirts really cuts into my blow money.
That could be taken in 2 different ways.
I don't wanna
I just
know
want
what
you to remember that.
That means, and
Oh, Jesus, you guys really suck tonight.
yeah, we're the ones that suck. Okay, so let's Let's go. That's another push-up, too. Let's go into something else I want to mention. This is very important. Streaming right now on Redbox On Demand, Malin Ackerman, Bella Thorne, and Alec Baldwin star in a hilarious, hard-hitting comedy called Chick Fight. When a woman is introduced to an underground, all-female fight club in order to turn the mess of her life around, she discovers that she is much more personally connected to the history of the club than she could have ever imagined. You can stream Chick Fight instantly on your smart TV or favorite device with the Redbox app today. It's rated R. It's also available on demand everywhere where you have on demand. And you can also enter to win one of 5 digital copies by sending an email to chickfight@thehollywoodoutsider.com. That's chickfight@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Send your name with the subject line, "Let's Rumble." Get those emails into us by November 30th, and this is a fun movie, so you're going to want to win a copy. chickfight@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Be sure to check it out. Okay, now we've got 3 spoiler-free reviews. The first one is Freaky. From Christopher Landon, the director of Happy Death Day, comes Freaky. After swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, very much in the vein of Jason Voorhees, a young girl in high school discovers she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. Stars Vince Vaughn as the butcher, who's the serial killer, and Catherine Newton as Millie, who is the poor teenage girl that's been affected with a bit of the Vince Vaughn's. And it's essentially Freaky Friday the 13th. Body switching movies are almost always comedies, I would say, but this one really mixes in horror with graphic violence with the comedy. Does that combination work for you, Amanda? You and I both saw this.
Oh, absolutely. The kills were very satisfying. Makes me sound like I want people to die. I don't want real people to die. I just like the fake people dying.
I'm really glad there's several states separating us right now.
I can get to you, John. But it was a lot of fun. It was it was a good blend. I liked that we had a good balance. It didn't feel like there was too much comedy or that it was too reliant on trying to be like Shaun of the Dead type, satirical type humor. This was just like, we had funny people and funny moments, but we're definitely in a horror universe right now. Like, things are not great for these people.
Grislier than I expected.
Yeah, that's a good word. I like it, grisly.
Yeah, man, because like the first time somebody kills them, I really thought it was going to be much more neutered than it was, but it is full on graphic violence. Like these, it reminded me very much of Friday the 13th kills throughout the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So Vince Vaughn plays a teenage girl, essentially, and Catherine Newton plays
the best teenage girl.
plays a murderous maniac. Do you feel like they both succeed at doing this? Because it's very important for a body switching film.
Yeah, this was something I was maybe a little trepidatious about. Catherine Newton. Word. Yeah, thank you. Catherine Newton is a good actress, and Vince Vaughn is Vince Vaughn. He's great. How the two would balance, I was really like, I don't know if this is going to go great. But rest assured, all of my fears were not. And they have good chemistry together, but they really learned the mannerisms of each character. So that way they both owned that character when they were in that body, when they were in that moment. And so I felt like I knew who the characters were supposed to be. Vince Vaughn really pulled off trying to be this teenage girl, and Catherine Newton really pulled off being this psycho killer. And I had a lot of fun with it. I was really impressed with both of them. And it's hard to, I don't want to compare the two, but Vince Vaughn has a much longer career. He's been in comedy for a long time. And so to kind of see the two of them as like a parallel, it was great.
Catherine Newton is very good. A lot of what her body switching stuff is she just plays it stoic and dark and dour. And I mean, she's a murderer. Vince Vaughn, I think, was a better teenage girl than most teenage girls I've seen, to be perfectly honest. Like he just...
Absolutely.
He was having way too much fun with this. I feel like there were moments where he's like, oh, finally, I'm free.
The way he trotted with his arms flailing out when he was running away. No, I was like, oh, okay, this is amazing. And that's where a lot of the comedy comes from, is that body switch and how he's really owning that character. But I think to Aaron's point, he has so much fun with it and you can feel it.
And he doesn't go too far. He doesn't go over the top, which is
no,
what I was
not
worried
at all.
about.
Yeah.
And you talked about the kills. I thought they were really fun and inventive. Was there one that really stood out to you, or just, well, I guess you don't want to really spoil it, but
yeah, you don't want to spoil.
Do you feel like they were as inventive as I thought? Because I felt like in terms of kills, which are important in a movie where you've got like a serial killer theme, I felt like this is probably the most inventive I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think they used a lot of very natural weapons, if that makes sense, but they did it in a creative way. Like, I wasn't expecting XYZ to happen, and I really wish I could tell you and talk to you about my favorite one, but I can't because it would ruin that great moment for you. But there's so many that are really just, it's happening and you know someone's going to die, but you're just like, whoa, don't expect them to die like that. So.
Okay. So Freaky, if $10 full price of admission, what do you give it?
Well, before I tell you my score, I want to tell you something else that I noticed in this movie.
Okay.
And it made me so, so happy. I know most people probably won't find this parallel, but as a lifelong Buffy the Vampire Slayer lover and fan, there are many nods to the show. Your main character is a girl with blonde hair. She ends up pulling, when she goes kind of badass, she's pulling it in a ponytail. She's got this red leather jacket on, super cool. There's a moment with a steak, which was really fun.
Yeah,
to see that kind of interjected. She has two best friends. One is a male, one is a female, and they kind of operate as a trio. There's just so many really cool things to it. So if you're a Buffy fan, you're going to enjoy seeing some of those pieces and elements kind of drawn from and in this movie. And it just makes it even better.
I guess I should have asked, did you like this as a high concept idea? You know, because sometimes these can really just be exhausting after a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's been done quite a few times, but it felt different somehow. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like it was just a rework. And although it does have many homages to other movies like Freaky Friday and Friday the 13th, and, you know, it even pulls from Buffy, like I said, there's a lot of different concepts that it's pulling from. It felt like it was still its own thing. And so I did enjoy it. I gave it $6.50.
Yeah. Oh, I give it, if $10 full price of admission, I give it 7. So I even liked it more than you. I had a blast.
Oh, maybe I'm trying to be less generous, man. I look back at some of my scores and I'm like, you are too kind. Fantastic Beasts 2.
2020 is making her a harsher critic. Everything is 4 and below.
No.
6 and a half is the new 9. All right. Also, I saw Dreamland.
All right, Aaron. Yeah, like you said, you watched Dreamland, that's usually my line to pull up. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get into it. Eugene Evans dreams of escaping his small Texas town when he discovers a wounded fugitive bank robber. Torn between claiming the bounty for her capture and his growing attraction for the seductive criminal, Eugene must make a decision that will forever affect the lives of everyone he loves, just like it always is. Margot Robbie stars in this, Travis Fimmel, Finn Cole. Aaron, so let's set aside Margot Robbie for a second, because I know you want to talk about her a bit, because I read your review.
I could do the whole episode on her if you want to.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. What stands out to you the most about Dreamland?
Taking her out of it?
Yeah.
Wonderful cinematography.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she really makes the movie, so I don't know if you can really... I really like the idea of a young man wants to escape his small town. I am a fan of that idea because every young man who is in a town has felt that way. And the idea of becoming a gangster or living vicariously through all the stories you've heard about, you know, gangsters, just feels like the right approach. And he's getting the opportunity to make a choice. Does he want to live that life or not? And I do really like that as a narrative arc. Okay.
So you mentioned the visuals are really nice. Why don't you go ahead and expand on that a little bit?
Well, it's just sweeping cinematography. I mean, it's taking place in, 1935 Texas, and it's very sweeping vistas, a lot of dust bowls. There's one beautiful shot where they're looking at a barn as a dust storm comes in, and it's just a beautiful shot. And there's just a lot of visuals like that. So that appealed to my auteur senses.
All right, go ahead and hit us with the Margot Robbie love.
Well, you know what? First, I'll talk about Finn Cole. Finn Cole plays Eugene, and he does an more like affable job of playing the character. He does a fine job. He really starts to come into his own at the end, but that's kind of how the character works too. That's kind of the character's arc. And even near the end of the movie, I mean, he really has this Christian Slater-esque aura about him, like Christian Slater, Ella Heathers or Cuffs, you know, that era where he was just very cocky and, you know, he really comes into that mold near the end. So, I mean, the character eventually works, but it just takes a little bit to get there. But Margot Robbie, I mean, who wouldn't want to become a gangster if she was holed up in your barn and asking you to help her? Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, I totally get it. And she's captivating, she's alluring, she's exhilarating. She really makes the movie. And every time she's not on screen, you want them to get back to her because she's just that kind of actress. You know, I really feel like she's one of the few actors today who just shows up on screen and you instantly have a connection to her in some way. So she really carries the film.
Okay. Travis Fimmel, I know he's popular for Vikings, and he's also in Raised by Wolves. How'd he do?
Well, he plays Eugene's stepfather, and they have an interesting arc. I don't really want to say much because it would kind of spoil it, but I do feel like it's a natural and honest arc, and it's a little bit of a slow build, but when it gets there, it's earned. So I respect that.
Okay. Yeah. If $10 full price of admission, what would you give Dreamland?
I would give it $6, and a lot of that is because the third act it stumbles a little bit because the screenwriter Nicholas Zwart, he kind of works really, really hard at bringing every storyline into each other at the same place and time, and I think that's a little forced, but it's still it's a beautifully shot film, and I think it's enjoyable from start to finish. So.
Okay, great.
All right. And third, Happiest Season on Hulu, which I believe releases November 25th, correct?
You be correct.
All right.
On Hulu.
Meeting your girlfriend's family for the first time can be tough. Planning to propose at her family's annual Christmas dinner until you realize that they don't even know she's gay is even harder. When Abby, who's played by Kristen Stewart, learns that Harper, who's played by Mackenzie Davis, has kept the relationship a secret from her family, she begins to question the girlfriend she thought she knew. Also stars Dan Levy and was directed by Clea Duvall. So I guess a lot is being made about this one because it's a mainstream romantic holiday comedy that revolves around a gay couple, which doesn't really get made that often. So what does the film do that is missing in most of the film world for that community or just in general?
Well, I mean, just the representation in general is kind of great because this is something that happens. There's always some sort of holiday movie that comes out and there's this couple and they're in love and they have to go home for the holidays and something happens and they try to figure out if they can make it or not. And that's really all this is. It's just the plot point is a little different because it's the thing that they're struggling with is her family not knowing that she's gay. And so I feel like just normalizing it like this was so fun. And it is something that happens quite often where you have one person who's still in the closet and the other person is not. And that becomes strainful on a relationship because it feels like you have to try to hide their secret or you feel like you're being hidden. And so this is a really great way to kind of open up some of the struggles that people in this community, in the LGBTQ community, are dealing with when they're in a relationship with someone who is closeted.
And all I care about, for me personally, because obviously I'm not in that situation, is the chemistry, right? Whenever I watch a romantic comedy, no matter who the couple is, to me, it's all about chemistry. That's what matters most to me. So does the chemistry between Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis work?
You know, I've got to say there are moments where it does and moments where it doesn't from Mackenzie's side of it. And I think some of that works to her credit because her family doesn't have any idea that she could possibly be a lesbian. You know, she's had past boyfriends and so her demeanor is she's acts kind of very straight, but you still want in those private moments for her to seem like she's romantically interested in her counterpart. And there are a couple of times where she really does, but there are also some downfalls where she doesn't. And this is where I'm going to put up and say Kristen Stewart is going to receive a lot of credit for her performance here. I'm not saying that it's anything crazy or it's anything that's going to win awards, but I felt her chemistry. And I think that's even harder to do when you don't feel like the other person is kind of reciprocating that on the same level. Mm-hmm. But I felt it from Kristen Stewart. And to the film's credit, a part of the story is feeling like, oh, maybe this person doesn't love me as much as I love them. And so you really feel like Kristen Stewart's character is fully invested in love with this partner. But Mackenzie Davis has moments where I just don't feel like she's really there and in it. And it doesn't ruin the movie or detract too much, but there are moments where it's noticeable.
In terms of the chemistry, you talked about Kristen Stewart. She looks really happy in the commercials. Is she uncharacteristically smiling more than typical?
Okay, so I guess we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is Kristen Stewart, because there are a lot of people that are just not a fan of her, especially from her Twilight days. And that I will say has been me historically. However,
and a lot of people.
Yes, there are many more people in that boat. When I say that this is something that will change perceptions of her ability to act in a film, and again, I say it's not anything that's game-changing, but this feels like a role that's meant for her and was written with her in mind or something, because she just delivers, and she is really happy, and she is romantic and sweet, and she's affectionate, but she is also funny, and she gets emotional and angry, and she has a wide array of emotion that, frankly, I didn't expect to happen, or at least very well, just because she kind of has that unfortunate perception from her younger career.
Didn't you guys see Charlie's Angels?
Yeah.
I just watched that this weekend.
Don't
take away from my recommendation.
Fun in that?
She was great.
She's good. Can we just...
She was fun.
She was fun.
In comparison to like what you're used to, she was a lot of fun.
But see, I've seen her be that in other movies. What was it? American Ultra? Was that the one? She was a lot
That one was fun. Yeah.
Yes, that was another one where she was fun. Yes.
She's a good actress.
She has, yes, when she's put into roles that are actually meant for her, yes, she can make them work. But I think that with Twilight, there were some, especially Twilight, it was just like either they directed her to be so
sulkin,
vague, and sulky and sulkin, whatever you said, and it just kind of really affected the way the public perceives her as an actress, and that's not a good reflection. What?
Don't make me defend her.
But it's
How dare you?
It's not a good reflection, and it's not the correct perception that you should have, especially coming into this film, because she has charm to her. She has sex appeal to her. Like, I mean, good for her. She owns this role. She really does.
How is Dan Levy? Because this is the first thing he's done since Schitt's Creek like exploded in popularity and awards. And he's in here, and it's a supporting role, but is he a scene stealer?
Oh my God. Anything that has him in it is going to be incredible, in my opinion. I will say it's not anything uncategorically new or anything like that. It's the same character, but toned down a little. He still has that demeanor about him that makes you laugh and makes you smile, and he gets a lot of screen time, surprisingly, because the two are not in a lot of the same scenes directly together. They're actually apart in a lot of the film. And so they incorporate his story really well and make so much fun out of it. And it was a nice level of light while Kristen Stewart's character is really trying to go through the motions of being around a family that thinks that she is a straight woman who is a roommate with their adult daughter. Okay,
last question. It's a romantic holiday comedy. Is this something that you could see yourself rewatching around the holidays? Or is this one of those streamer movies where you watched it once, you'll probably never see it again?
Good question. Because I tried to watch Jingle Jangle. Nah, I'm not. I don't know what it was about it. I felt like I wasn't in the Christmas spirit. And I tried to get into it. And I was like, I'm just not feeling this movie. Maybe it's just the time right now. I watched Happiest Season and I instantly was like put into the mood of the holiday season. Like I started decorating today because I was just feeling it. I was like, I feel like it's Christmas right now. And I understand that it's like a no-no, and normally it's a no-no for me, but it's 2020. Let me do whatever I want. And
it's 2020. It's allowed right now.
It has so much charm that I think I could come back and watch this. I don't think it would be as fun to watch the second time around, but it does have a lot of great humor. And I think Dan Levy's performance really makes it something that I could come back to again. And I would be willing to even rewatch it this week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if $10 full price of admission, what do you give Happiest Season on Hulu November 25th?
I'm going to give it $6.50.
Okay. Well, apparently everything's getting $6.50 from Amanda from now on because she's, that's her new score.
That's how she tightens it up.
I know.
That's how Jordan Peele goes from being the director of our time to just like, a good director.
I mean, you asked for that, Amanda. That's kind of
get me out of here.
You've got some some new releases coming out. What do we got?
All right, so up first on new releases on November 20th on VOD, we have a documentary called Collective. Director Alexander Nanu follows a crack team of investigators at a Romanian newspaper, the Gazeta, as they try to uncover a vast healthcare fraud that enriched moguls and politicians and led... Oh my God, this is like the United States all over again. So that's that.
I don't know if you spoke English in that one, but go ahead, Amanda.
There were words.
Yeah.
We don't need to understand them. So we have Embattled that comes out on VOD on November 20th. The eldest son of a ruthlessly tough MMA champion must fight his way out of the abusive cycle his father has continued.
The Dwarf.
Snooze.
Stephen Dorff is in that.
Even more of a
I
snooze.
just don't care at all.
About Stephen Dorff?
Yes, and also about this movie.
The Dorfster?
Dorfmus?
He's so good in that one movie, Blade.
Was he, though?
Yeah, he was. What's the last one?
All right, so the last one is Fat Man. Fat
Man.
Not to be confused with Batman, it's Fat Man. It's released on November 24th on VOD. Santa Claus must contend with a hitman sent by a disappointed child. This stars Walton Goggins as Skinny Man, the hitman, and Mel Gibson as Santa Claus.
Yeah, and if you come back to our show, I believe December 1st or 2nd, whenever that week, because we are off for Thanksgiving week, we will, I believe, have a giveaway of Fat Man. So come back for that.
Ooh, can I apply?
No, you cannot.
No,
you cannot.
This movie looks like a lot of ridiculous fun.
It does. It does. And when people are like, I can't believe Mel Gibson's still working. I'm like, yeah, but then you see the preview for this and you're like, I get it. I get it.
Basically.
We need somebody that does this. I mean, nobody else is going to do this role. Let's go to our From the Outside In topic. Childhood TV memories. Most people think finally on childhood memories, innocence, all that. What was TV watching like for you as a kid?
I don't imagine my TV watching being any different than most people. I'd go to school and like by the time that I was getting on the bus ride home, the thing I could think about the most was like catching up on my cartoons for the afternoon. Those are the times that I remember that I enjoyed the most. I also like the Friday nights where the family or a group of friends would get together and watch whatever kind of genre television that would come out Friday nights or Saturdays or sometimes on Thursdays. That's on Sundays. And like a lot of those genre shows that you got to watch were always so fun. And those are the things I think about the most. What about you?
I had a lot of different experiences. Like when I talk about being really young and watching cartoons and stuff, and then getting into my teenage years where I really was invested in television and would watch reruns in the morning because reruns were still a thing back then when you had cable. And it feels so old saying something that's not even that old. But that's kind of what my experience was like. It was normalized. Television by the time I was a kid and growing up was normalized. It was a part of my childhood. It was a part of my everyday life. And it brought me and certain members of my family really close together. So it was kind of like a bonding tool.
Yeah. Originally, I had 3 channels because we were poor. So we didn't have cable for a while. So we had 3 channels, essentially networks, until we got cable. Well, eventually we had 4 because Fox came out. And we're like, oh, new channel. But I had 3. And then we eventually got cable. So, that's when we got rich, obviously. That's what you felt like back then. If you had cable, if you had MTV, I'm rich.
Back when it was about music videos.
Yeah, back when they actually had, it was all music videos, and they had.
That's all it was all day long. You could just turn on MTV and watch some music
lives
videos.
Constantly.
It was the greatest thing back in the 90s when you can just turn that on.
Oh, yeah.
Or 80s.
And like you can
or 80s.
Well, the 90s also. It wasn't until the mid to late 90s that it started turning into a stupid factory of moronic. See? Is that a word?
I think you're just making words up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts. And MTV was definitely when I felt like, oh, we made it. I got MTV all the time. But I grew up mostly with the handful of channels. So I was mostly watching network shows and TV movies, and I'd record them like crazy because I would rewatch them because there wasn't much else to watch at the time. So I had tons of videotapes all over the place. I remember my mom had this TV VCR cabinet, and the entire cabinet was just full of videotapes. I'm sure I have them all still for some reason because I can, find a VCR anywhere. But yeah, had tons and probably thousands of hours of TV on these tapes.
I recall having a lot of VCRs in a cabinet as well growing up. And I know you guys are going to have a much older experience with recording the VHS tapes, but did you guys rewind yours? Were you the a-hole who didn't? I feel like that's an important question.
Well, I mean, those weren't rentals. I mean, these are tapes I owned. The VHS stuff I taped on, so you didn't have to rewind them. If I returned them to the video store, I would rewind them.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Or were you a jerk who didn't do that?
No, I always have, because otherwise they had to put them in that stupid machine that rewound the whole videotape, which I always felt bad. I'm like, man, that just took 5 minutes out of their day. So
I had fun doing it. I thought it was like an activity.
Rewinding a videotape?
Yeah, I was obviously bored.
Wow.
As a child.
Like you, I only had a few channels to go off of, and I only had one English-speaking channel up until 87, which is when we moved to the States. The channels I did have, had anything from genre shows from all over the world, like Japan and whatever, and it was great, but they were all in Spanish, which if you ever have to watch anything dubbed, watch it dubbed in Spanish, because it's so much better of a dubbing than it is watching everything being transferred into English. I don't know why it is that way, but it just is. The thing my parents would actually do is that whenever they came to the States for business or to visit friends or whatever, what they would do is they would bring tapes with them, and every single night whenever they were watching TV, they would just record what was on the TV. They would record all sorts of different shows like Remington Steele and Star Trek and all this other stuff as they're watching it, visiting friends in the States, and they would bring it home, and we got to watch a lot of stuff that way.
That's really cool.
That's smart.
Videotapes made the world go round. It was so much easier to watch what other people were watching. Here's a tape. Take it home, watch it, bring it back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Done. Now it's like, man.
It's like a mistape, but different.
Yeah, but now you get hey, can I borrow that movie? Man, no. I'll never get that back.
Yeah. To the girl who has
collateral.
my Veronica Mars season 1 on DVD, I remember. I will always remember.
I hope she's listening. She's like, oh, snap. I didn't know that was the same chick.
I know your name.
Time for a chick fight. Huh? Look at that. Just tied it all
I see
together.
what you did there.
All right, so let's talk about your favorite or most impactful memories of watching TV as a kid. Try to be specific, but whatever they are. Memories as a kid.
One of my favorite memories was, and at the same time also is the reason why I absolutely despise Westerns.
Oh, boy.
is my great grandma. When I would spend time with her, she would make me breakfast in the morning. She would make the best eggs over easy, and she had the best jam for toast. It was like the perfect breakfast. It's still my favorite breakfast to have because it reminds me of her. Mm-hmm. And we would watch, first we would start with soap operas because of course, and then we would migrate into Walker, Texas Ranger, and it would just be a long day of Chuck Norris. Like that was my day.
How is that
it
a
was
bad
Walker,
day?
Texas Ranger.
Sounds awesome.
It wasn't, but that's like what really I was like, okay, I can't take any more Westerns. And I would ask to watch something else. And I'm not even kidding you guys right now. My great grandma was one of the sweetest people in the world. She would not let you change from Walker, Texas Ranger. It was not happening. It doesn't matter how cute I was or ugly I was. She wasn't changing the channel.
I love how that show, every problem can be solved with a roundhouse kick to the face.
Right. I mean, those are life lessons.
Those are life lessons.
It's very important. Like, I don't care what it was, man. They're just like somebody has, oh, the bus driver was being a little rude to the kids at school. Well, you know what? I'll solve that problem. Ow! And that's like every problem. Roundhouse kick to the face. Loved it.
She's also the one that had me watch Old Yeller. So, like, I feel like that tells you a lot about my childhood.
It's a great movie.
There.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It's also very devastating to watch as a young child.
Trying to get you ready for dealing with real world problems.
You know, he's trying to coach some kid into talking to girls. Well, I can't get this girl to talk to me. Roundhouse kick to the face.
Wow. Ike Turner's favorite tool. All right, so what do you got, John?
The first memory that really struck me was the memory that created my love for Star Trek. You know, and when I started watching it, I specifically remember it'd be on a Friday night, and it'd be one of the few things that I could watch in English. Which, you know, it's neither here nor there. But occasionally, I just needed to take a break from all like listening to everything in Spanish, and it was great to just make sure I had both languages under control. Which now I don't even have that. But anyhow, on a Friday night, my parents developed this habit of ordering pizza. And at the same time, my brother developed this habit of disappearing on a Friday night. And my sister had friends, and so she would always be gone on a Friday night. So my parents would order 2 large pizzas from Soup Pizza. And I would be out in the living room with this, and I'm like 9-10 years old, with a full large pizza on my lap, watching Star Trek on the other television as my parents are in the bedroom watching whatever they're watching, and just sitting there and enjoying Star Trek stories with a pizza all to myself. I can't really tell if it's the pizza eating by myself that I love so much about it or the Star Trek, but I really just enjoy those quiet nights alone with a full large pizza and Star Trek.
That sounds like both the happiest and saddest memory of anyone's childhood.
Don't judge his childhood. He loved it.
I'm just saying. I'm just sitting there eating my pizza all alone, but I'm enjoying my Star Trek stories, eating my pizza all alone. So it's like,
hey, I didn't have to deal with nobody's bullshit. I didn't have to get like punched in the head by my brother, or be told on by my sister. I didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. I just got to be me,
and you got to have a whole pizza to yourself.
And I got to have a whole freaking pizza to myself.
I like that.
I don't eat pizza anymore, but still.
My first one is from V the miniseries, which I don't know if you guys have, I know you've seen it, John. I don't know if you've seen it, Amanda. But if you've seen Independence Day, it totally ripped off V the miniseries. Like literally. Yeah. Literally. Mm-hmm. And got no credit for it. But when that first came on, nobody knew really what to expect because all the previews showed you were the discs coming over giant cities, and it was this miniseries where aliens were coming to Earth, and we didn't know what they want. We figured there was something nefarious, but we didn't know what it was. So Mike Donovan, gets on one of these ships, and he's trying to find out what the visitors are up to. That's what they were called, visitors. And he finds out that they're lizard people who are going to eat us. And that was just a phenomenal turn because at that point, we had no idea that was happening. We had no idea that that's where it was going. And when it turns out that it's a lizard person and they're eating people, it's just like your mind is blown. It's like, whoa! Mm-hmm. And it just got crazier and crazier after that. So that was just like one that I'll never forget as a kid because my mind was blown at that point.
You know what? I don't mean to cut off Amanda on this because typically it would be Amanda's turn, but I'm just going to go ahead and take this moment to build off of that.
Yeah, nothing like a man interrupting a woman.
Nothing like a woman not knowing what her place is.
Whoa!
Anywho,
That's John. Is it our John at the Hollywood Outsider, or is it just John at the HollywoodOutsider.com?
I'm not saying anything. I don't even want to speak right now.
Pretty sure it's just John.
I too have a V story that I really love because I love that miniseries so much. When V: The Final Battle was coming out, I was so excited to be able to sit down and watch that. And my buddy Mark Thompson and I would actually go to his parents' house and watch it there. It's always an interesting memory because I know he and I were sitting there. We were watching V: The Final Battle, which again, Mike Donovan is now leading a resistance force against the aliens, and they're fighting they're completely outclassed by the monsters that they are taking over the earth, but yet, machine guns versus lasers, machine guns win every single time. And it was just a really great time, like sitting there and watching that show. It really blew your mind, like especially when the alien baby comes out.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really messes with you. And then this was closely led by Kojak. It was like, so I would have V: The Final Battle, and then Kojak would come on, and it like the Night Stalker.
Oh yeah, that was a good show too.
Yeah, really great show. So a great night of genre television right there. Now, Amanda, you may have the floor because I'm creating an opening for you.
Oh, thank you for giving me your permission to speak, sir.
Oh boy, this is going to go on too long. This is making someone uncomfortable right now as we speak.
I remember waking up when I would stay with my grandparents, and I would wake up in the middle of the night to QVC. My grandmother, different from my great-grandmother, just to clarify.
I would hope so.
Is she not great?
I mean,
is she just the okay
No, I'm
grandmother?
just saying this isn't, I'm not like reiterating another story with the same person.
I was like, which part of the South are you from, Amanda?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So my grandmother was obsessed with QVC. I don't know. I never had the full experience of being around a woman who loves shopping when I was really little or when I was younger. And my grandmother was just like it wasn't even online. It was just like phone calls, service orders of QVC. So I'd wake up in the middle of the night to QVC. And then in the morning when I would get up and get ready for school, we would watch reruns of Charmed because we both loved the show. And so that was like our morning routine after having like a weird night of sleep because she was watching QVC and like random commercials all night. So, but it was endearing. And every time I see a QVC thing, I'm like, oh, my grandma, she probably is the reason they can still exist. She funded them. You're welcome.
Are they still a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I saw something for them like the other day and I was like, God, I hope my grandma's not still ordering from them.
They're based out of Tampa.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So they're still a thing, and they're still thriving. I see job openings for them all the time.
Well, I'll share something that's not so positive, but it was extremely impactful for me. It was when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up.
Oh
wow.
It was like the first teacher in space, I think is what it was. And so we were all in school watching that. Yeah. When the shuttle lifted off and was going into space, we're like, wow, this is like a regular person's going to space. And the shuttle blew up. It was just one of the most horrendous, impactful, important, I would say, events of most young people in that time's lives. And it was just, I can't even explain it, to be honest. I mean, it's probably
the only thing that compares to it is 9/11.
Yeah. For kids that went through 9/11, it's probably very similar in that respect. Insane. It was crazy, but that was an important moment.
No, I remember watching it because at the time it was a space camp kind of thing that I was doing in Panama, and we were all excited to sit down and watch it. And yeah, that happened, and it really messed us up.
Yeah, because all the kids were like, I can't wait. I want to be an astronaut. And one day we're like, no, I'm good. Gonna go build ditches or something. It changes the course of a lot of people's lives, I think.
Yeah, that's really sad.
Go ahead, Amanda. Lift us up.
Okay, so I feel like now I should talk about what most people had as an experience of morning cartoons. Of course, I had like Rugrats and stuff like that I'd watch, but I do distinctly remember a lot of Power Rangers activity happening in my home with my brother, and it was he's 4 years older than me, so I would always imitate anything he did, of course. And we were really into Power Rangers and TMNT, and there's actually a photo still of us that I have, and it's one of my favorite pictures. And we're wearing robes, these white robes with the thing that you would tie around your waist is actually around our head is like a little belt for TMNT. And we're holding like a karate pose. And it's probably one of the cutest things I've ever seen. And those are the kind of memories with my brother that I had a lot of fun with. And I think of him when I hear the Go Go Power Rangers song.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Every weekday afternoon when I'd come home from school, I'd watch the normal normal after school cartoons, which seemed like to last forever. One of the shows that would pop up, a local like department, quote unquote department store in Panama, had their own show that they would put out every weekday, especially during Christmas time. And all it was a half-hour show of kids playing with toys. And they'd sit there and like have these kids playing with the toys, and then they'd walk up to each group of kids playing with whatever toys and start talking about what the toys do. So I don't know why, and I guess I do. I mean, it was perfect marketing campaign as a way to get kids to buy more, talk to their parents about buying more stuff. But it was really cool to sit there and watch them playing with like stuff from the Mask cartoon or from He-Man and stuff like that. And I was always really jealous of those kids, but it was always also really just like fun to watch it.
Yeah, I can piggyback, I guess, a little bit. My best friend and I didn't really watch much TV together because he's like anti-TV. He just wants to go do stuff.
How are you friends?
We have nothing in common, literally. I've been friends with him since I was 5, and still, he lives within a mile of me. So we're still friends, but we have nothing in common. But the one thing we would watch together, every once in a while we go see a movie, but it wasn't often. Even though he kind of lived in my house, he just would rather be doing stuff. But he's a guy who he's very handy, literally, and he can build anything. He's just a guy who's really good with his hands. And when MacGyver would come on, that's about the only show he would actually sit down and watch with me. And this is a guy who pretty much lived with us because his mom wasn't really around. So he lived with us for the most part, for most of my youth. But that's the only show he would actually watch with me was MacGyver. And after we'd watch the show, like every single week, we would then have to go and tinker, because this is back when you didn't have the internet, so you actually had to figure out stuff to do, use your imagination. We would actually try to build the gadgets that we saw on MacGyver. Very rarely did we ever accomplish it, but every once in a while you nail one. And that was always like a very fun memory, just trying to make whatever the hell he just did work, at least in some capacity.
That's awesome. I like the idea that you guys went ahead and took a break from the show or after the show went and tried to make those things. All right, I got the chewing gum. I got a paperclip. I got this. Why isn't it making a nuclear reactor? This is bullshit.
Well, once we caught his grandma's carpet on fire, so I don't think we did a great job with it, but we tried. And, A for effort is what I say.
Right.
That reminds me of my mom. She was a little intermittent in my life, and she also was not like a TV or movie type of person particularly. Apparently now she's really grown on everything. It's very bizarre, but it's weird, whatever. And so one of the things though that she would watch with me, she was into I Love Lucy, she was into Bewitched, like those types of shows. She loved Brady Bunch. We would watch those shows together. Like randomly we would just watch. If we had the TV on or something, that's what she would choose to watch. So I remember those, and I love those shows for that reason. They were a lot of fun.
You got some explaining to do. I remember with my mom, one of the, probably one of the most memorable things of watching TV with her as a kid was watching The Twilight Zone. And there's an episode called Eye of the Beholder, I think, if I remember right, is the title. And It's this woman, Janet Tyler, she's getting the surgery to correct her face. They keep talking about it, and all the doctors and nurses are shrouded in darkness throughout the whole episode. And they keep saying, well, the surgery didn't take. And when we finally see her, she's absolutely beautiful, right? She's stunning, but they keep saying they're trying to fix her face. They can't fix her face. We finally see all the doctors and nurses, and they're all pig-faced people. They all look, they have huge snout noses and stuff like that. And they're all looking down on her. She's gorgeous. They have this hideous appearance, but they're all talking to her like she's ugly, right? Because it's all about, eye of the beholder. Perception is reality. So the whole episode's like this play on how beauty is subjective and we should cease feeling we're better than others because, I mean, it's just a ridiculous concept. And it just hit me in a really profound way at that age. And my mom was kind of explaining to me like what that meant when it was over. I just remember having a long conversation about that. And we didn't have many conversations about stuff we watched on TV. You know, usually it was like, oh, that's funny, or oh, that was stupid. I can't believe you watched that much Night Court, Aaron. But this was something where we actually sat down and had a real discussion. I'll always remember that as being one that I appreciated, because she could talk to me about how this is why you don't put so much stock in beauty, and this is why what's inside matters more. And it was just very profound.
That's awesome.
I never had fun conversations like that with my mom. It was always her trying to gross me out over whatever we were watching. I remember there's one time when we watched The Fly, and that scene in The Fly where he starts putting his body parts in the fridge. She pauses it for a second. She says, "Do you see what that is?" I was like, "What is that?" She goes, "It's his pee-pee." And I'm like, "Okay, stop that."
Well, it probably was.
I have a weird, embarrassing story that I've never told anyone before, but I'll tell it to everyone who listens to this podcast. So this will be fun.
It's okay. We won't share it.
No, not at all. So as I've mentioned many times before, and even in this episode, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was kind of like part of, I don't know, it shaped who I am, I feel like, in a bizarre way. And while I don't remember watching specific episodes or anything in particular, I do remember some of the impact it had on me, like to the point where I wanted the cross necklace and I wanted to have the same outfits as her. I even my brother even helped me find a piece of wood out in the railroad tracks that looked like her little stake. And then I would just walk around at night, when I would go for my nightly walks or whatever.
And stab people?
And just wait for a vampire to happen just in case. You never know. This is very dangerous. I highly would not recommend doing this.
Did you actually just say you never know? Yeah, you know.
You don't. You never know.
You do.
Not when you're 9 years old.
I promise you do. There's no such thing as vampires. I promise.
Not when you're 9. You don't know. You fully believe in it. Anyway, and so I was I felt like I can be one of this. I can be a slayer. I can be next in the generation. Anyway, it's a very embarrassing story, but it speaks to the imagination of being a child and just the impact that TV shows can have on us and who we are and just everything. And I just remember I remember one specific night going and walking around and hoping a vampire would come so I would practice my Buffy moves outside.
It just feels like a recipe for jail time. It really
feels
does.
like a recipe for kidnapping. I was over by railroad tracks.
I mean, this is probably my last personal story I'll share, but in connection, I didn't run off and chase anybody or anything like that, but I just ended up using the lingo all the time. But you guys, Amanda, you probably won't because you're younger than John and I.
This is my favorite thing you say. I'm going to start taking a drink every time you say this.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you just want to take shots is what it sounds like, which is fine. Go ahead. John, do you remember the show Hunter? Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Hunter debuted. It was like this dirty, hairy cop show, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a better cop than that, but he killed a lot of people. And he partners up with this tough female cop. And in the premiere, he dropped this catchphrase that he used all the time, which was, "Works for me." Usually after a perp dies. He didn't care how he got him.
Oh my God.
He's just, I got him. Works for me. Which probably, okay, in today's era, doesn't play as well. And I'm acknowledging that. But in the 80s, it was really fun to watch. So after the pilot came
in the 80s, it was really fun to watch a cop kill somebody every other episode.
It was always self-defense. It was never murder. Well, that just got very uncomfortable, John. I want to thank you for bringing that up. But after the pilot came on, I rewatched the episode a bazillion times. I absolutely loved Hunter. I don't know why. He really reminded me of Clint Eastwood in a lot of ways. And every time for 5 years when I thought I did something super macho, which wasn't very often, I'd say, "Works for me." I mean, it just ended up being a part of my lingo. And that just reminded me of this story because that was kind of a problem, like your Buffy issue. And it just got me thinking about all the stuff I used to say from TV shows as I grew up that were catchphrases on TV shows, and I ended up introducing into my vernacular.
That's something that I get caught up in doing every now and again still, but and that's when I know I need to take a break from whatever show I'm watching, because I'm like, you're watching way too much of insert whatever it is here. Like, I know that I'm watching way too much of Tom Segura's comedy specials, but because every time I want to start making a point, I start like finishing the point in the cadence in which he finishes his jokes, and it drives me a little nuts when I start seeing it.
It drove me nuts too, because I don't think he's that funny. What? I'm just kidding. Not really. It's true.
I have one more memory.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it counts.
Is this where you assaulted someone because you were pretending to be somebody else?
Yeah, and I just stabbed them in the heart. And they didn't vanish to dust, and I was really shocked.
You're like,
and I went home.
This is so awkward.
I am so sorry. Aren't you supposed to go somewhere now?
If I wait a little longer, are you going to whoosh?
Wow, he's not burning in the flames or anything right now.
He's basically...
Maybe he needs to sprinkle the holy water on him.
Is he doing the Paul Rubens where he's like,
Oh, that's too funny. So and this is, like I said, it's not a TV show, but it's television. It still counts. New Year's Eve for the ball drop. I remember watching that and sitting on the couch with my dad, and usually one of us would fall asleep. I think it would usually be me earlier, and then as I got older, he would fall asleep on the couch. But I remember, like, that was a really cool moment for me, and I always looked forward to, and not that any child really cares about New Year's Eve, because it's really just about getting drunk for adults. But it was something cool that we would do, and we would sit there and watch it, and I can still picture it. And so I always looked forward to New Year's Eve with my dad because of the TV.
The ball drops. Everybody remembers those stories, though.
Hey, that's great.
He doesn't care about my memory, is what he's saying.
Oh, you know what? When you bring up that, I think everybody's probably got a New Year's Eve story that they remember at some point. So that's, I think, very relevant. Everybody's got some time in their life where they were watching New Year's Eve, and some memory is affixed to that. So I think that's always relevant.
Still TV. It still counts.
Absolutely. Dick Clark used to rule New Year's Eve. Now it's crappy Ryan Seacrest or Anderson Cooper. They just don't compare. I think Fergie's in there somewhere, too. I don't know how that works. Any listener thoughts you guys want to share before we move on?
I had a cool one from Lauren Thomas Williams. He said every Friday we laid out in the living room floor with our McDonald's and watched TGIFs line up.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool. Following that up, Nate Bruce talks about how much he loved watching game shows, and Press Your Luck was one of those ones, which that one was always pretty great. And that whole like no whammies, and then you'd actually have that guy there was actually a documentary about the guy who figured out how that game show works and got them for like $600,000.
Oh my gosh, I remember being obsessed with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Philip Thompson was talking about Wheel of Fortune, which is sad because I remember that as a kid. I'm like, that's been with the same people. So I'm like, how long has Pat Sajak and Vanna White been doing this thing? But he said, I would watch Wheel of Fortune every night with my grandma and be amazed by the fact that she could solve all the puzzles with like 2 letters on the board, which is very cool. And your grandma, Philip, should have joined that show ASAP. But the memory that I have most about Wheel of Fortune is how young boys everywhere heard that Vanna White was going to be in Playboy. And every one of them were talking to an uncle or a grandpa or something, trying to convince them to buy that issue. I'll never forget that, because that was all the talk in the schoolyard playground for some time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Just like, wait, Vanna White is what? We got to get that issue, man. Yeah, it was very sad. Boys are very sad.
We didn't have the internet back then.
Right? You couldn't just search it. Couldn't Google it. All right. So that's it for our topic. I think that's childhood memories are always a fun topic. I think we talked about cartoons months ago. So this is taking it to the next level. But before we close out, any recommendations you want to tell people about, Amanda, since you haven't been here in like 6 months?
Queen's Gambit. I'm sure you know it's great. Mm-hmm. You should watch it if you haven't watched it. I watched the latest Charlie's Angels with Kristen Stewart. That one was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was way better than the trailer made it seem.
Way better. Yeah.
It was not. It wasn't a perfect movie. I'm not saying that, but you know what? I had fun, and that's what it's really about. I have been enjoying season 3 of Killing Eve, or I did enjoy it. I'm done with it now. I have also enjoyed some of my TV shows coming back. The Grey's Anatomy had a 2-hour premiere, and if you have not watched that, you need to do it ASAP before you get spoiled if you haven't already, because whew, what an ending.
John?
I'm on the season 2 of No Offense, which is the cop show that I talked about. That's on Acorn that I subscribe to through Amazon Prime, and it's that like SVU, only a lot more charming and done in England, which is such a great show to watch. And I know the last episode I talked a bit about Titans, which is something that I was very tepid on, and I got through season 2 of Titans and I went from being tepid to I freaking love that damn show. It is probably the best thing to come out of Berlanti's shows that I've ever seen.
Oh, wow. I got to check that out.
Yeah, like season 1, again, it's something I'm very tepid about. Season 2, I think, is the best thing Berlanti's put together.
Well, I got through season 1 of Schitt's Creek after all the raves and woohoo and awards and all that. And I will honestly say it is okay. It's an okay show. Yeah, that's about.
Are you going to keep watching?
I'll keep watching because I will. To be fair, my wife loves it. She was laughing the whole time. I'm just like,
yeah.
Wow, that's all the rage, huh? And I liked it fine. I absolutely cannot stand Chris Elliott's character. Not in the way that they intend either. He's just so out of place, in my opinion, in that show, and it kind of almost ruins the show for me when he's on there. But I like the other characters, and the other actors I think are all talented. So they've grown on me a little bit. So I'm watching that. There's a movie called His House on Netflix. Really recommend it if you're looking for fun. Amanda was talking about that we've had a great year in horror. Check this thing out. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's about a refugee couple that relocates to this English town, and there's evil afoot. There you go. That's all you need. Check it out. Don't watch the trailer. Just watch the movie. You'll be intrigued. His House.
Oh,
Netflix.
Another one is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I started getting through that. I'm through the first season, a little bit into the second. Love that show.
It's got Tony Shalhoub in it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It does. Wow, I'm ashamed that I didn't. I tried watching the first episode before when it first came out. Wasn't like just feeling it at the moment or something. But I got into it recently, and it's great. It's really great, and I love the perspective of a female comic in this time period. It's just fascinating.
All right. Well, share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group. That's The Hollywood Outsider. On Twitter, we're at Buy Popcorn. Our site is thehollywoodoutsider.com. Please rate and subscribe us on your preferred podcast app. You can find John's artwork on Insta and Twitter at rjohndraws, Amanda on Veronica's Marshmallows and Smirk, and at Sink Into This on Twitter, and me on the Blacklist Exposed and Presenting Hitchcock, or at Aaron Smirks on Twitter. And yes, the Blacklist Exposed is back, and there's some secrets coming out, allegedly. Now we've got our Ho Teachable Minute, where in a minute or less, one of our hosts is going to tell the audience something that they've learned from movies or TV this past week, and that's Amanda.
Okay, so I have also been watching Hot Ones, and that has been
Is that wing
delightful.
show where they have people on and they try to spice them up or whatever?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
The
great
one
show.
with Ramsey, what is it? God, the jerk.
Gordon Ramsay?
Yes, him.
The jerk.
He could not handle, but like after the second wing, I was like, what a pansy. I could do better than this. He was so dramatic and extra. Anyway.
He's English.
That's true. What I learned is Peyton Manning is quite funny. So they had this experience with Peyton Manning where they had asked him, this was on the episode with Seth Meyer, and Seth Meyer had asked him if he could throw a football at the back of this kid's head. And I think it wasn't like a real football. But anyway, I guess Peyton Manning looked at him and said, kind of a little bit frustrated that this was even asked of him because he's a quarterback. Of course he can. And he says, of course I can hit the kid in the back of the head. And I just thought it was so hilarious that this moment even happened. But if that's not enough of a teachable moment, I did also learn that you can use donuts or sweet items to offset your wings if they're too spicy.
Yeah, like the sweetness will actually help kill some of the spicy things to it. We actually did a Hot Ones challenge for a friend's birthday. It was, they ordered all the sauces for everyone, and we went through the whole process. A great episode of that show to watch is actually the Alton Brown episode. So if you want to see a different chef type person to do that show other than Gordon Ramsay, Alton Brown is very entertaining to watch.
How did you make it through? How did you do on Da Bomb?
It tastes like battery acid, but I was fine through most of the part.
And I will throw in, if you want to find something funny with Peyton Manning, he did Saturday Night Live many, many years ago. And then there's a skit that he did where he's just like basically coaching kids or whatever. And he's just mean. He's just an absolute dick. And it's one of the funniest things because he's like this wholesome, upbeat guy and projects himself that way. And in the skit, he's just basically this huge raging asshole to kids. It's hilarious.
I wonder if that's what it was from, because Seth Meyers is,
I'm sure.
I mean, SNL is his jam. So I wonder if that was the same thing. Just so funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. All right, well, that's going to do it. Now, remember, we're not going to be here next week for Thanksgiving. So you guys and your families, however you're celebrating safely. I mean, I know there's big debates going on about that. None of us are going to tell you how to live your life. So just whatever you do, be safe and have a great Thanksgiving. And remember that the next time you head to a theater or watch one with your family through Zoom this Thanksgiving, buy popcorn. I'm pushing record on mine. I want you bitches tell me when you are both recording.
You're a bitch.
This is John, and this bitch is recording.
You can look at my double chin for a second.
Why are we looking down your shirt? Get away.
You're
Back
not.
up.
Back
up.
My shirt? I don't even have a cute shirt on.
I was seeing armpits. I don't want to see that.
Well,
that's bad audio.
Hydrate, motherfucker. Hydrate.
Bitch, I hydrate. I just refilled
He says hydrate as he drinks a beer, like that's hydration on any.
It's not. It's not a beer. It's seltzer water.
Sparkling, yeah, something sparkling.
Yep.
Oh. I mean, if you had a man card, I would last for it back. Macho,
it's delightful and tasty, and it has no alcohol whatsoever because it's not an alcoholic drink.
Wait, what?
What?
Why are we still having echo going on?
I don't have any echo.
Because he has the button on.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's better with the lights on. There was one file that had...
I don't hear that very often. Thank you.
Was that a compliment?
Wow.
Yeah, I think
on.
so.
I think
it went in a really dark place.
I think John just said, Amanda looks prettier with the lights on. That was nice. I would have went with haunted houses are better for you.
I feel like it. I'm discounted today.
Discount double check.
I'll put a cuter shirt on when we do the cats part.
Who gives a shit?
We don't have time for that.
You don't have time for that. All right, let's go. Let's go.
A woman can change in and out of a top?
No, they can't.
Not in any length of time. No.
Wrong.
The last time my wife said she needed to change her shirt, by the time she came out, my 401k had actually changed by like 15%. All right. Are you done cracking your whatever?
Yes.
All right.
That's penis water.
It is fruity and light.
Hang on. We're still recording. Let me do my push-ups to make up for that suckage. Hang on.
Well, we stopped counting. I want to see like 28.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, I did them. All right.
That's 3. That's not enough.
As many. I did exactly as many as I can do.
He almost threw up
I did.
a little bit.
I could taste it in my mouth.